Good. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to our online meeting at FSS. Thank to Victor to be here with me today with the considerable distance to help me to broadcast this. And thank you for you all who are watching us and vibrating with us. We will start today with a text from the book Son and Daughter of God from the Spirit Joanna de Angelis by the medium Divaldo Pereira Franco. And the text entitles Patience in You. An obvious sign of emotional imbalance is irritation. Patience reflects the inner tranquility, which is based on unlimited confidence in God's plans. The knowledge of the truth provides calmness, since it gives man the knowledge of what his or her destiny and knowledge how to achieve it. Patience respects time, applying it correctly and working systematically and continuously to achieve the goals set. In all circumstances, patience acts with equity, and it knows that all life occurrences obey the law of causality. Thus, submit yourself to patience without being deharmonized by random and negative influences. Action triggered, results will come, depending on the type of movement developed. To be irritated or impatient only aggravates the picture of events that cannot be changed. In this way, harmonize with life, acting the valued treasure of patience. In destructive competitions, wait for your turn. In dominance fights, wait in your place. In shocking ambitions, remain in peace. Each experience will give you the greater capacity for other commitments, forging the metals of your feelings and virtues for wider victories. So then you are alert and patient, knowing that the law of justice will understand that only happens to you according to what you need. Do not grieve or hurry yourself. Without delay, but be patient always, awaiting for the correct result of your achievements. With patience, you will conquer everything after you have conquered yourself for good and for peace. Let us pray. Dear God, dear mentor guides, dear guardian angel, dear Jesus, we invite you all to be with us today reflecting about this so important point of time that we live in, the importance to keep ourselves patient, to keep ourselves tolerant, and to act with unconditional love all the time. We kindly ask you to bless all our brothers and sisters who are watching us today, looking for improve their gospel at home, looking for a family more harmonized, and looking for a more harmonized world to live in. May today we all understand that the home is the sacred environment that you, Father, has brought us together for our own good. And we kindly ask you, Father, please motivate us all, bring us more tranquility in this turbulent moment, and let us find in our family the love that you have for all of us. So be it. Welcome everybody. Once again, thank you very much for watching us, following us through Facebook and YouTube. It's very important to keep disciplining ourselves to follow what brings love, serenity to our hearts in this moment. The coronavirus pandemic has brought us so many challenges, but without any doubt, the living among our loved ones is the ultimate invitation from the Lord, from our Father, to learn to be better beings, to learn how to behave out of home. Now, by the nature, we are all forced to stay together and to rectify all our difficulties, to accept our loved ones, to live with our loved ones, and to really love them as Jesus, as God loves us. With that said, came to our team this week. It would be great to motivate more people to do the gospel at home, to apply Jesus in our homes more frequently, weekly, or maybe even daily. One most important invitation: to keep ourselves calm, to keep ourselves in patience, because as Mary has told Chico Xavier, everything will pass. but one thing will not pass. And it is the way we behave right now with our loved ones and with ourselves. And the gospel at home is this love and invitation to bring Jesus to our side, to the moments that we most need Him, His serenity among us. Our meeting today is based in the guidelines of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, and the practical course of the Fraternity in the Spiritist Centers by the Spiritizar project. Our objective today is to encourage the families to study the gospel of Jesus at home, making possible its better understanding and its practice. And why we want to better understand it and better practice it? Because it leads the whole family to moral improvement. Studying the gospel is the ultimate invitation of Spiritism. Understanding Jesus' steps is to understand our model and guide. For that, I would like to invite you to close your eyes and listen these questions, to reflecting deep. Do you embrace the Spiritist doctrine in your daily life? Do you embrace the gospel of Jesus in your daily life? How often do you invite Jesus to come to your home? Do you encourage your family members to study and practice the gospel teachings? These are all inner reflections that we are all invited to answer to our own. I would like always to remind you that through our live in Facebook and YouTube, you can make your comments and questions, and our dear Vitor will pass on, and we will try to answer the best way we can. With that said, what is the gospel at home? Is it just a ritual? Is it just something that we do because someone told me? Is it just because Erick is telling you right now? Is it something that you read somewhere that would be nice to do? What is the gospel at home? First of all, we would like to remind you that the gospel at home is not an invention of Spiritism. In the book Jesus in the Home, the Spirit Neo Lúcio brings the important reflection. When Jesus, in the chapter 1 of this book, implemented in the house of Peter, Simon Peter, the first gospel at home ever. So yes, it is not a spiritist invention, but it is a weekly family meeting in a day and hour already established for the study of the gospel in the light of the spiritist doctrine and to pray together. This is the concept that's coming from the Brazilian Spiritist Federation guidelines. But also known as the Christian home cult, the study of the gospel is at the same time a fraternal meeting in which the spiritual family and others interested in group's moral progress participate. Many spirits, take this opportunity to clarify themselves among us. It is very important for us to understand that this is a fraternal meeting. And when we talk fraternal, it's important to understand the origin of the word fraternity. Fraternity from Latin comes from frater, which means brother and sister. To establish at home a fraternal living is to live with the gospel. And why it's a great opportunity to help the spirits to clarify themselves. Well, from the Spirit's book, we all know that we are surrounded by spirits all the time, whether we want or not. Some of us have mediumship who can understand the phenomena, can see, can hear, can speak to. But most of us don't. And most of us don't understand that. And most of us understand that the spirits are there to either guide us to evil or to goodness. Well, brothers and sisters, if God was unfair, unjust, He would put us spirits in our way, in our path, to really do evil to us. But He, in His almighty wisdom, invites the spirits to be among us, to learn with us. And as we instruct ourselves, as we gather knowledge, these brothers and sisters also get this knowledge. And with this opportunity, they all evolve. We all evolve together. So it is very important for us to understand that all the beings surrounding me are benefited by the gospel at home. Why to practice the gospel at home? Is it just a ritual? Well, study the gospel according to Spiritism is a disciplined form to create the habit of the gospel study and family prayer, to sanitize spiritually the home through elevating our thoughts and feelings in prayer, peace, and fraternity. This will strengthen the bonds of the family alliance. Once again, it is a source of light that we all are invited to develop in our home, within our family, and to educate ourselves. Because through the process of education, we will get there. We will evolve. We will find Jesus in our lives. Who should participate? This is a very common question. Who should participate? Just adults? Well, we consider all people in the home, including children and visitors. Yes, it is challenging to pray with children at home, but nobody said this is a ritual. We need to start with this text and finish with this text. We can always promote different ways to study it and how to practice. Well, for first recommendation we do is to read a harmonization message from a book, any book, such as, for example, the series of Living Spring, this wonderful book that brings us small texts with divine inspiration by the Spirit Emmanuel. And with this, aiming the harmony of all. Well, does it need to really be a book? No. If you have children, you can find other ways. For example, at my home, we always put a music to harmonize ourselves. A calm music that my kids also like to hear, and when they start hearing it, they understand that it's time to calm down. Then we recommend an initial prayer, a prayer from the heart, a prayer for the home, a prayer for the good spirits to follow us during that time that we are inviting them to be with us. This is very important. Doesn't need to be a prayer for the whole world, but is to initiate the habit of praying and to start the way our home will be in the next few days. These are examples of the books from the Living Spring series. Then we recommend to read and do an explanation about passages from the book Gospel According to Spiritism, or the Gospel of Jesus, with all present participation, everybody participating. The study could be enriched by stories or narratives of real facts related to the passage. The Gospel According to Spiritism is a source of life, where Kardec wisely started almost every single chapter with a little piece of the Gospel of Jesus, and then the interpretation of the codifier of that passage, and also the interpretation of superior spirits about that passage. And then we are all invited to reflect about it, to explanate it in our lives. How to resume our lives following those teachings. The next step that we recommend is a vibration, a moment of prayer, where we focus our thoughts in family, relatives, friends, sick people, and others, looking for spiritual health, spiritual help, spiritual guidance. This is why it's so important during this vibration moment we pass through in thoughts every single room of our home. We pray for every single member of our family, for the animals, for our co-workers, for our distant family, for our friends, all those in need, all those who relate to us daily. And finally, a final prayer. So the process is ultimate simply. The recommendation, a harmonization text, a music, somehow to get everybody calm. Does it need to be in a special room of the home? No. Can it be? It's the call of each one. Let's see. The second step is the prayer. A simple prayer asking for all our guides, especially Jesus and God, to be with us. The third step is to read the Gospel according to Spiritism or the Gospel of Jesus and reflect about that passage. Doesn't need to be a long passage, along the full chapter, but just an item, just a few paragraphs, or just even one paragraph, if you're rather. After that, the fourth step is to focus our vibrations, the people who live in the home, for the home, and all the people we care about. And finally, the final prayer. Here are some recommendations and comments about it. First, choose an environment in the home that best accommodates the family and all participants. Let's choose a place that everybody is comfortable. Nobody wanna be there stuck, feeling pain for a few minutes or an hour. Try to find the most comfortable environment for that moment at your home. Hold the meeting of the Gospel at home weekly, on a day and hour previously established. We always recommend to do it weekly because we understand the family is busy, everybody have something to do, but the days we live in invite us to be together for more time. So don't waste the chance to do it more frequently. If you have the opportunity to do it daily. Maybe twice, 3 times a week. And after these turbulent times are past, maybe weekly is a wise frequency. Have water in cups or bottles to be magnetized by spiritual benefactors. we always recommend to have a bottle, a cup of water, and if you want to put a cup of water for each of the participants, or a bottle for all share, feel free. It's just a recommendation. Abstain any kind of mediumistic manifestation. We don't recommend at all mediumship meetings at home, because most of the people who do it have very poor education about mediumship and end up incurring most of the time in very deceiving ways to practice mediumship. Invite children to participate, singing, poetry, stories, prayer, comments, according to their ability and or possibility. This is a very important point, as I mentioned before. Children are more than welcome to participate, and they should participate. In the book, Spirit's book, when Kardec asks if parenting is a mission, the superior spirits say, without doubt, it is a mission for the parents to bring their kids together and together find ways to evolve without letting the bad inclinations, the egoic passions that we all have, take the lead in our time, in our lives. So yes, inviting the children is very important, but doesn't mean that we need to do in a formal way, as we mentioned before. We can use music, we can use stories. And for example, right now, I'm using with my kids a video that tells, for kids for sure, that tells the story about Jesus. It's a long video, it's about 1.5 hours, which I broke down in many pieces, and then we watch every piece, and after that we comment with the kids. It gets their attention. It promotes Jesus' stories, and it promotes the reflections about Jesus' life. And it brings the children to the habit of prayer, which we should all be thankful if we had our parents teaching us that. And if you didn't have, it's always time to start. Another recommendation is to avoid suspending the meetings because of futilities or unexpected visits, which should be invited to participate. If you have a friend who is coming, staying in your home, it's always time to invite them, even though they're not spiritists. If they say no, that's fine. We don't need to force anybody to participate. If they say yes, it's a winning for everybody. But avoid canceling, suspending, postponing the meetings without a very important motive. Maintain elevated conversations during and or after the meeting. We understand, as I mentioned before, that we all have friends, spiritual friends, brothers and sisters who follow us in this life. And sometimes it's very challenging the minutes or maybe the hours before the gospel at home. But it's important for us to persevere. Sometimes some of these spiritual friends, they're not willing us to bring light to our home. But it is on us the choice to let them come, to make the effort, to all of us be together, to have Jesus in our home, and the effort is extremely valid. During the conversation, sometimes it's normal for parents, husbands and wives, to accuse each other of not fulfilling what's written in the Gospel according to Spiritism or any other lecture that we did. Try to avoid this type of conversation. This won't lead anything. Try to encourage the others to be better and not to accuse the others of not being perfect yet. And after the meeting, because all after that wonderful environment that we created of calmness, tolerance, and unconditional love, because of one sparkle, a few words is enough to put it all away and have a very tough environment at home. So try to keep yourself calm all the time. Avoid exceeding the time of 1 hour for the meeting. If there are children, try to reduce this time. We always recommend that this meeting doesn't become something that might bother the participants. It's very important that amuse everybody. And as the time goes on, and sometimes some of us have a really hard time to explain ourselves. And when we see we are ready for 30, 40 minutes talking, it's important for all of us to figure out that we are not masters. And that moment is much more to bring us knowledge and reflection for the week or the days to come than to be hours and hours talking about something that might not be even in our mind the next day. So we always recommend to avoid having very long meetings, and if there are children, try to contemplate the correct time to have everybody focus in the prayer, in the comments, in the meeting. The text for reading and reflection can be found in the books of the Gospel according to Spiritism, in the Bible, the Gospel of Jesus, the Gospel at home, Jesus in the home, sorry, it's not Jesus at home, it's Jesus in the home, and other characterized books that study the Christian morality in the light of Spiritism. In a very simple way to put this is try your best to study Jesus' steps during these meetings, because that's the ultimate reason we do it, to bring Jesus to our family, to our home, but mainly to our hearts.
Eric, we have a friend, John, just reminding about the water.
The water?
Yeah, fluidized water.
Yep, we mentioned about this. It was one of the recommendations here. Yep, having a cup of water or a bottle of water, which can be magnetized. Again, this is not mandatory. It's just a recommendation. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. The prayer is the ultimate reason of doing the gospel at home. But there is always a goodwill in putting the water beside us and having some to drink during the end of it, and why not for the remainder of the week. But thank you very much for the remind. Do we have any other comments or?
No, that's
No? And once again, we invite you all to participate, brothers and sisters, because this is a moment for us all. I would like now to go through an important text which is in the Gospel according to Spiritism, in the chapter 27, where Kardec calls the item intelligible prayers. And the item 17 brings us a very important reflection about what is an intelligible prayer. A prayer is only as good as the thought connected with it. And it is impossible to connect with a thought what is not understood, because whatever is not understood cannot touch the soul, cannot touch the heart. This is very important because most of us have came from different religions before, different beliefs, with different creeds. And some of them we learned about learning by heart prayers, or prayers, intelligible prayers. This is not something that we recommend in Spiritism, mainly because of this first quote from Allan Kardec. It is impossible to connect fully in a prayer that's not understood what we are asking. And why is that? Any process of evolvement, we pass through three main phases. Let's say we are developing the virtue of love in our lives. The process of developing love, I have to know love. Otherwise, it's just going to be a mere word, a beautiful word that a lot of people use. But knowing love leads me to feel love. And in this process, maybe the hardest one, because I can know all these books by heart. I can read them 20 times and know the questions and answers of the Spirit's book. But I don't feel it. It doesn't engage in my heart. It doesn't invite me to act, to think like that. It's just a knowledge. The exercises of living, for example, again, the virtue of love, through knowing what is the law of love and what is expected of me. Through love, I will start making effort and feel it. And as I feel it, I know and feel it, the consequence is gonna leave. What most spiritists call practice. But once again, when we try to jump from knowledge to live, to the practice, most of the time becomes mechanical processes. We don't even understand fully why we are doing it. This is why sometimes our kids come and tell us, "Oh, you keep saying something, but you don't act as you say." And it is not because we are not making the efforts, but we are not just understanding yet the full process. We are just trying to force something. But in the law of nature, nothing is forced. We have all the time we need to do our evolvement. And as the question 115 of the Spirit's book, if we learn to love the laws of God, we will submit ourselves to them. We will accept them. As I accept that speeding puts me in danger, I will start fulfilling my heart of the God's law. But there are those spirits who choose to rebel. And when the more we revolt against the laws, the more we depart from it. And the more we will postpone our process of evolvement and our happiness.
Our dear Gnome is asking if there's a maximum number of people that can participate.
No, there is not a maximum number of people. We always recommend all households. Everybody who is at home would be wonderful. If it's too many people and it gets impossible, then it's always possible to choose to do it once with one group and the other time with another group. But I hope there aren't that many people in the homes these days of coronavirus. But yes, there is no maximum number. We always recommend the number of people who are in home. But if there are too many people, you can always divide in groups. For the most people, prayers spoken in the incomprehensible language are only a group of words that say nothing to the Spirit. In order for prayer to touch, each word must reveal an idea. And if us does not understand it, it cannot reveal anything. Once again, the prayer, as it is in the Spirit's book, the prayer that most praises God, are the most simple ones, but the ones that come from the heart. One repeats it as simple formula that has more or less virtue according to the number of times it is repeated. Many pray for as an obligation, others as a habit. This is why they believe that they are forgiven after they have said a prayer for a determined number of times and in such an order. This is very, very important. The gospel at home is far from just a mechanical reading of texts, just a mechanical prayer, but every single word must be in touch with something that really, really warms our hearts. And finally, God reads in depth of the hearts and sees the thought and sincerity. And it is to demean God, to believe that God is more impressed by the form than the depth. Once again, I would like to invite you. Doesn't need to be wonderful words. The most developed prayer. We're not trying to become St. Francis with beautiful prayers, but we are trying to speak from the heart. When we speak from the heart, God, who can read everything in our minds, will really fully connect to us, and with it bring consolation, comfort to our hearts. Because Spiritism, brothers and sisters, came to our life to remind us life doesn't end here. Life carries on. The Spirit carries on. There is nothing to be afraid. There is nothing to be ashamed. There is nothing that can be put between me and God in this time. Our families need us as never before. The world is suffering as never before. The world is claiming for Jesus to come and fulfill our thirstiness of love, our thirstiness of justice, our thirstiness of charity. We always remember the passages of Jesus going to the mountain and enabling all the beings down there watching him to be a new being if you want. To let go our passions. And it's not easy. Demands a lot of hard work. Sometimes it's so easy for others to say, it's just a matter of choice. Sometimes our hearts is broken in so many pieces that we feel lonely. But brothers and sisters, there is no reason to doubt that inviting Jesus to our hearts to be with us work. It worked for so many. It's working for so many. And it will work for each one of us as soon as we want. We want dearly. We want it from the bottom of our hearts. In the book Missionaries of Light, a book that we studied yesterday here at FSS in our online meeting, there is a very beautiful passage that I was invited to finish this meeting, and that reflects exactly the quote that we all know, home, sweet home. The spiritual guide Alexander says, the home is not only the dwelling of bodies, but above all, the residence of souls. Souls who live with us, souls of our families, our own soul. For that, more than ever, we are invited to practice the gospel at home. We are invited to bring Jesus to our homes, to protect our families, and to find sincere love within all the ones that we love and care. Let's pray together and never forget, whenever we call Him, and there are two or more, He will be there for us. Thank you very much. Do you have any other question or comments?
A couple of comments. So John Philippe, he was saying that gospel at home really changed his life and his family's routine. It's clear for him that he can fulfill himself with love and harmony. And our dear Nelma, she said that when she was living in another country, and a lot of people were away from their families, the friends amongst themselves would go into one's home and give the gospel at home there.
Very good. Thank you very much. And for those who didn't hear what Vitor said, we have a few comments online saying, testimonies saying how gospel at home have helped them, and how they can do the gospel at home even though they are not within their family. And this is it. We always can get together. It is a time, struggling times, it is a challenging time that we are all invited to stay at home. to practice social distancing, to keep our hands sanitized the most we can. But above all, it is a time to protect our family. It is a time to protect our family materially and spiritually. And the gospel at home. It is this wonderful hand sanitizer that goes from room to room of our home. And slowly brings peace and harmony to our family, to our loved ones. Thank you very much. I would like to invite you to pray once again with us to finish our meeting today. Let us connect ourselves with our brother Jesus, with our brother guardian angel, with our brothers and sisters from our spiritual family. Let's connect ourselves to the loved ones who are surrounding us or who are away from us. Let's think with them. Let's connect with them. Let's feel them in our lives. Dear Father, today we beg you to be with us. We beg you to be with our family. We beg you, Father, to be with the whole Fraternity Spiritist Society of Calgary family, touching the house of each one who made this dream come true. Our Spiritist Center in Calgary is still here for all of us, praying and strengthening the boundaries of family, motivating us to live as brothers and sisters, helping the ones in need with material sources, helping the ones in need with spiritual comfort. Dear Jesus, please enlighten our beautiful town of Calgary. Enlighten the governors of the city, the governors of this province, of this country, and the whole planet, to bring people together, to live calm, to be tolerant in these moments of struggle, and to understand fully the term unconditional love. Unconditional, dear Father, because you establishes no conditions for us to love us. And we are all invited to establish no conditions to love ourselves, our children, our relatives, our families, friends, and all living beings. Please, Father, enlighten the planet, enlighten the families, enlighten our homes. Inspire us resignation in the gospel at home, and help us right now, all connected, to feel the blessings of light coming from the heavens, falling as flower petals, falling in our shoulders, in our heads, in our families, bringing us health, bringing us unconditional love. Be with us, Father. Be with us today and always. So be it. Thank you everybody for joining us. Tomorrow we will have our meeting in Portuguese, and we will keep having our meetings weekly. Follow us through YouTube and Facebook, and pray with us every night at 9 p.m. Mountain Time. We do our prayers to keep our planet healthy and safe. Thank you very much.